Nick Allen's glove is amazing, but is it good enough to overcome being one of the worst hitters in all of baseball? We'll discuss that and many more questions on today's episode of Locked On Braves. So let's get into it.
You are Locked On Braves, your daily Atlanta Braves podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, and welcome back to Locked On Braves, part of Locked On Sports Atlanta, where we cover your favorite Atlanta sports teams each and every day. I'm your host, Jake Mastroianni. You can follow me on social media at Shortstop Ball. Check out the podcast there at LockedOn_Braves on X, Locked On Braves on Instagram. If you're new and you're watching this on YouTube, please do me a huge favor. Hit that subscribe button, hit the thumbs up button, and leave me a comment down below. And on the audio side, you can help out as well. Just leave me a 5-star review on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcast. Thanks so much for making Locked On Braves your very first listen of each and every day. Big shout out to all my everydayers out there who continue to let me know down in the comment section below. This is a continuation of our mailbag podcast from Friday, but today's podcast, we're really going to talk a lot about Nick Allen and whether or not the glove is good enough to overcome the offensive deficiencies and if he can remain the Braves shortstop for 2026. We also have some questions about the future at the manager position for the Atlanta Braves. Is there going to be some shakeup? Who should it be to replace Brian Snitker? We'll answer those questions on today's episode, which is brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. Enter for a chance to win a dream golf trip for two to any golf tournament in the U.S. Visit 5hewin.com for full rules and entry. No purchase necessary. Excludes the Masters tournament. Ends October 31st, 2025. Well, as I said, it's a continuation podcast from last Friday as I'm out on vacation right now. But I want to answer some other questions that we had for the mailbag podcast that we can go a little bit deeper into. I got a couple of questions about Nick Allen. The first one from Justin Shoemake, who says, I really like Nick Allen's defense. Couldn't ask for better, but at some point you have got to get some better offensive output from that position. Do you think Atlanta really gets a new shortstop this offseason, or do they just play Allen hoping one of the prospects proves they can stick? And then another question from Peterson, who says, what would a contract for Nick Allen look like if he was at least a league average hitter? So let's discuss Nick Allen because it's just a big talking point anyway as we approach the offseason and think about where the Braves could upgrade, because shortstop is definitely one of those positions. Once again, ever since Dansby is gone, it feels like they've been looking for that future shortstop. And guys like Orlando Arcia, Nick Allen, they've done a fine job defensively, but certainly have not been that guy that you really are looking forward to lead your team up the middle. And just a little bit of background on Nick Allen. He's 26. He'll turn 27 in October. He is out of options, but he's under control through 2028 in arbitration. His MLB career numbers, 365 games, a little over 1,100 at-bats. He is slashing 214, 266, a 274 slugging percentage, a 54 WRC plus. Those are bad numbers. Those are quite bad numbers. And again, that's not a small sample size at this point. Since 2022, when Nick Allen entered the league, he has the lowest WRC plus of any hitter with over 1,000 plate appearances since he entered the league. And to just put that in more simpler terms, he has been the worst hitter in baseball since he entered the league over the last 4 years. And even if you bump that up to a minimum of 500 plate appearances, he's still the 5th worst hitter since 2022. Worst hitter on that list, by the way, just Austin Hedges, 33 WRC plus and 834 plate appearances. That seems really difficult to do. You got to be really great defensively. And what is Austin Hedges known for? For his great work behind the plate. Christian Pache was also on that list. He's the 3rd worst hitter over since 2022 as well. So I just thought that was interesting. But you look at 2025 for Nick Allen, what he's done with the Braves, because one of the questions talked about if the Braves could turn him into just a league average hitter. So far this year, 118 games, 386 plate appearances. He is slashing 225, 291, 254. I laugh because it's crazy to see a slug lower than an on-base percentage, and especially that much lower than an on-base percentage. 56 WRC plus among players with at least 350 plate appearances this year. He is the worst hitter in all the baseball with that 56 WRC plus, and his ISO is easily the lowest. Isolated power is 0.29. 0.029 is his ISO. The next closest is Isaiah Kiner-Falefa at 0.65. So, I mean, by just about any metric you want to look at, Nick Allen is the worst hitter in baseball and has been over the last 4 years. He is the only player with that many plate appearances this year, 350 or more, without a home run. So this isn't just a guy that is, a below average hitter. He is the worst hitter in baseball. And I mean, no offense to Nick Allen, who I have really enjoyed playing or watching play this year, but the numbers don't lie in this case. He is the worst hitter in baseball and has been since he entered the league. Now, if the Braves, to answer the question, if the Braves can make him a league average hitter, MLB should investigate the Braves immediately to see what kind of voodoo magic they have to turn the worst hitter in baseball into a league average hitter. Again, it's not that Nick Allen is just below average. He is the worst hitter in baseball. So if the Braves were able to somehow turn that around and make him league average and give him a WRC plus around 100, which is league average, MLB should investigate them immediately. Now the defense. Get to the good part, because I've done too much bashing on Nick Allen. I didn't mean to go incredibly hard on him in this podcast, but it's just, it is what it is. However, the defense for Nick Allen, there is no question. I mean, he'll be at least a finalist for the Gold Glove this year, if not win it. There is no question he is a great defensive player. However, there are some limitations because of his physical stature. He's not a very big guy, which is going to cut down on his range. Mediocre speed, mediocre arm strength, although the arm strength is actually better than what I thought it was based on shortstops who have made at least 500 throws this year. He's 8th of 14 shortstops at 84.7 miles per hour. Dansby ranks last in that group at 79.6 miles per hour. So it's not the worst arm, certainly, and it's middle of the pack, but it does hold him back a little bit. Allen relies heavily on his baseball IQ, his instincts, and his very quick hands. Again, I've been very harsh on Nick Allen in this podcast, but man, is it a joy to watch him transfer a baseball and how beautiful it is for somebody who loves the shortstop position, loves it for the defensive reasons, to see the transfers and the turns that Nick Allen makes. It's a lot of fun to watch, and I really have enjoyed watching him this season. But that's where the ball comes from. And that's great. And that's fine. Dansby Swanson has won a Gold Glove with that weak arm that I mentioned because he has a high baseball IQ, great instincts. He knows how to position himself. He knows how to position himself, stay on a ball at the middle. You want to catch it, turn, and throw. He knows how to put himself in a body to overcome his arm so he can get as much on it as possible. And Nick Allen has that type of baseball instinct and IQ, and that's what makes him such a great defensive player. However, again, and I'm the guy that loves defense, especially up the middle defense. I don't care how great of a defender you are. The Braves cannot have Nick Allen be their starting shortstop in 2026 and carry not one of the worst hitter in baseball at the bottom of the line, any of the bottom of the lineup. And we've said before, and I've said it in the past with Orlando Arcia, but Orlando Arcia was at least a league average hitter and an above average defender. And you could kind of hide that at the bottom of the order if everybody else is doing their job. You can't really hide a 56 WRC plus. It's not going to cut it. They have got to make an upgrade up the middle. Again, as good as the defense is, and I would love to see Nick Allen stick around to be able to have that defensive versatility and to have that great glove come off the bench. But that offense is just too bad. So to answer the question on if Allen, it was league average in this dream scenario, if he were to become a league average hitter with that defense, I mentioned him already several times, he would get a Dansby-like contract. I don't think he'd get $170 million because that was just odd circumstances. The Cubs were desperate. They wanted to make a big move, and they did so. But if he were a league average hitter with that defense, I mean, he'd get over $100 million, I believe, as a free agent. But he's not. He's the worst hitter in baseball, and he's not going to get paid nearly that, anything close to that, because he probably isn't an everyday player. And so I can't see a world in which the Braves have Nick Allen as their starting shortstop in 2026. There has got to be some sort of improvement there, and it's going to have to happen externally. And look, we haven't gotten to the offseason yet, but right now I just don't know who that's going to be. If it's not Bo Bichette, and you want to talk about taking a step back defensively, although I've watched a lot of Blue Jays games in the second half, and Bo makes the plays. He doesn't seem as bad as the metrics make him out to be. But I definitely, for what you're going to have to pay him, he probably is going to have to come off a shortstop at some point or be a liability there. So I don't know where the Braves go. I don't necessarily know what the answer is. I know it's not in the minor league system, at least not yet. But I just can't imagine the Braves are going to go into 2026 having a guy in their lineup that is the worst hitter in baseball, no matter how great he is defensively. But we'll see. Maybe I'm wrong on that. Let me know in the comments section below. As always, I'm fine if you think that I'm wrong. We want to have that conversation, but let's do so down below. Let me know what you think. Do the Braves run it back with Nick Allen next year? Are you fine with Nick Allen despite the lack of offense? Let me know what you think. Next, we'll get into some other questions, including some on the coaching staff and what that could look like next year as well. We'll get into that here next. Time to fuel up and turn it up with 5-Hour Energy Transfusion. It brings the bold grape, ginger, and lime flavor of your favorite golf drink into a quick, energizing shot. Whether you're sinking birdies or just making memories with friends, this one's a hole-in-one for your energy game. And let's be honest, some days on the course or off it, you just need that extra boost to stay sharp and energized. Golf is all about good times with good people and good flavors. Of course, the grape ginger lime flavor gives you best parts of your clubhouse go-to without chasing down the bev cart. If you go to 5hourenergy.com today, the number 5-Hour Energy, you can use promo code LOCKEDONGolf to receive 20% off of your order. And also right now, if you visit 5hewin.com, you can see the full rules for entry on your dream golf trip to any golf tournament, excluding the Masters. That offer ends October 31st. So again, check out 5hourenergy.com to enter for that and to get your energy transfusion today. Thank you as always. Making Locked On Braves your first listen of each and every day. Go check out Locked On MLB for your second listen of the day. They'll get you caught up with all the action happening around Major League Baseball. We'll have a few fewer episodes here this weekend, or this week rather, while I'm out. So go ahead and check out Locked On MLB and see what they got going on. Let's jump back into these questions here, though. Calvin Finner says, with the shoulder issues from last season and surgery this year, do you think the Braves just move Ronaldo Lopez back to the bullpen? So there actually was a quote from Mark Bowman, I believe it was on Thursday. A lot of news happening last Thursday, but he quoted Ronaldo as saying, or let me just read it to you. This is from Mark Bowman on X. He says, when I talked to Lopez yesterday, he made it clear he wants to be a starter next year. He has no desire to return as a reliever. He's throwing on flat ground from 150 feet now. Schwellenbach also started playing catch. Both hope to throw a live BP or two before the season ends. So Ronaldo obviously wants to come back and be a starter. That is his hope. But if I'm the Braves, I have a very serious conversation with him and say, I think you're going to be best utilized as a reliever. We know the Braves are not quick to give up on starters. So I would imagine they're going to give him a chance to start next year, assuming he's healthy. Hopefully he can come back this year, throw a couple of bullpens, at least get that under his belt. And then we'll see what happens in spring training. I think it'll be just like when the Braves signed him. I think they'll come into spring training. He'll have to prove it. And if he can, then he'll stick in the rotation. If not, then he'll go to the bullpen. I think that's exactly how it's going to play out come spring training. They'll give him a chance to start, give him a chance to earn it and prove it. If not, then they'll stick him in the bullpen. It makes the offseason a little bit awkward because you don't know that until you get into spring training and maybe even into the season. But I think the Braves will respect his wishes and at least give him a chance to start. Me personally, I think he's going to end up in the bullpen at some point. Maybe not to start the year, but probably sometime next year. I think he's going to end up in a bullpen role. Calvin also asked, what are your thoughts on a one-year deal for Devin Williams as a pillow contract for him to rebuild value? Depends on what that pillow contract looks like. 1 year, $16 million. I mean, that's what Iglesias is making this year. But then you are signing that guy to be your closer, and you're signing that guy hoping that he can bounce back. I don't hate it, certainly, especially what the Braves have done with pitchers. I feel like they're a great landing spot for him to get back on track. So if you could do that and you can get Devin Williams for 1 year, 14, 15 million, maybe a team option year with a little bit of a buyout to give him some more incentive, I think that would be perfectly fine with me. And again, I feel pretty confident the Braves could help get him going right again. Michael Culture Geek 86 says, has AA gotten too comfortable relying on the same core instead of making bold moves? Yes, I think so. This is my main criticism of Alex Anthopoulos, who I'm not as down on as a lot of people are. But the one main criticism that I do have for him, while he did a great job building out this core, winning a World Series, it does feel like he has gotten too comfortable and too relaxed and too focused on maintaining instead of building upon the core. It feels like he built this core and just said, okay, let's ride this out for the next 10 years and see what we can do, instead of what the Dodgers have done. And I get it. The money is different, and it feels like or sounds like there are some financial constraints on Alex Anthopoulos, but the Dodgers have said, we got this core. We also have all this money. Let's build on top of it. And instead of doing that, instead of building on that World Series championship, you cut a year off of Freddie Freeman and weren't willing to give him an extra year, and you lost him to the Dodgers. I mean, say what you want about that, how all that went down, and I understand the agent part of it, the lockout part of it, all that. I'm not going to get into it again, but bottom line is you were still penny pinching when you should have just been all in. And I feel like that has been Alex Anthopoulos' MO since taking over, is let's just make the small, safe financial options. Let's build up this young core and let's just ride it out, instead of let's build up this core. When I thought when he made all of these moves, locking up all these players to, somewhat team-friendly deals as young guys, my hope and my thought at that time was, okay, you've built this core that now gives you the freedom to go out and make a big move or two, every offseason. And that just hasn't been the case. He's still not signing top free agents. He's still not spending big money. And again, some of that may be just some financial constraints on him that, we can't blame him for. But I do feel like he has gotten too comfortable and too conservative instead of building a huge dynasty that is constantly adding on to its core and building and winning championships every year. It feels like it's just, hey, let's try to get cute and go get a Jared Kelenic and see what that can do. Let's bring in some of these under proven guys and see if we can fix them. Let's take some of these pitchers that are, like a Devin Williams, who I just said I'd be fine with, but guys who are coming off down years, and can we get them on a cheap 1 year deal and see if that clicks, instead of just let's go get the proven dominant free agent. And that doesn't always work out either, but it just does feel like, to me, as I look back now in the last 5 or 6 years, it feels like it was, let's build the core and then let's just put some marginal pieces around it, instead of let's build the core and then bang, let's go out and make a huge move to supplement that big core from the outside. That's where I think there have been some mistakes from Alex Anthopoulos. All right, next we're going to get into some expansion talk and some managerial talk. A couple more questions to get to on this part 2 episode of the Mailbag Podcast. We'll get into that here next. August 26th, I think that's tomorrow as this is being posted, is officially FanDuel Futures Day, a brand new holiday for football fans who live for bold predictions and preseason hunches. For just 24 hours, FanDuel is giving you deals on NFL season predictions. Whether you're calling your MVP, eyeing a long shot division winner, or ready to crown your Super Bowl champ before Week 1 even kicks off, this is your moment. I don't know who the favorite is to win the NFL Super Bowl this year, but hey, you think they got it in the bag? Go ahead. You can do that on a Futures Day. You want to take a shot on Atlanta? I'm guessing they're probably not the favorites to win it all, but maybe you're feeling good about your team. You can do that on Futures Day, August 26th. Maybe you want to get on that MVP discussion. You think Bijan Robinson, maybe Penix Jr., I think he's the quarterback maybe now for the Falcons. I don't know. Somebody help me out. But whoever it is that you got your eyes on, you want to go ahead and get that down. You can do so on August 26th, FanDuel Futures Day, or parlay your division winners dark horses as well. Also, please make sure you visit fanduel.com/playsafe for tools and resources to help you stay in control of the way you play. Visit the FanDuel app today and start planning your futures bets now, because Futures Day is one day and one day only. FanDuel, play your game. A couple more questions to get to on today's episode. This next one is from Truist Park, who says, with all the talk about expansion realignment, most options have showed us no longer being in the same division as the Mets and Phillies. What would be your ideal realignment? Yeah, most that I've seen have the Braves in a division with the Marlins and the Rays, and then the expansion team that we assume is going to be in Charlotte. And I think that's kind of what it has to be. If you're going to do it geographically. I mean, I love the Phillies. I love the Mets rivalry, and I think that's fun, and I would hate to lose that. I do think it would probably be a little bit easier, not probably, it will be a little bit easier if you are in a division with an expansion team and the two Florida teams. I think the Braves would, could have another big run of winning division titles there, although the Rays have certainly, had their success over the years. But obviously with the Phillies and what the Mets are spending, that would give the Braves a huge advantage. So, as a fan perspective that wants to see my team win and succeed, I don't mind that division at all. But then it does take away, that rivalry that we've come to know and love with the Phillies and the Mets for so long. Even if you could somehow hook in a Houston team like the Astros, I think that would be pretty cool. Because just, quite honestly, the Florida teams are pretty boring. But again, I think as a fan, I think it'd be great, because I think the Braves could dominate that division for years to come. I mean, if I were just able to pick, teams from all over the country is who I want in the division, I mean, that would be something. But it sounds like there's going to be some sort of geographical realignment that could be the goal. And again, this is all hypothetical if there is an expansion down the road. So, I mean, if I'm looking at it as just who are teams that I like to see the Braves compete against. I like to see them compete against the Mets and the Phillies and the best teams of the world. Throw in another East Coast team like the Red Sox or the Yankees. I know they want to keep those two, I'm sure, together in a division, but I think that could be a lot at the front. Maybe, keep the Nationals in there too. I think that would, and the Nationals necessarily wouldn't be fun, but maybe the Orioles, just to throw somebody different in there. But again, geographically, it just makes sense. You can't have the two Florida teams down there not being in the same division with the Braves. Are you going to jump them and put them in a division with, the Reds and the Guardians or something like that, or the Reds and the Astros? It wouldn't make sense geographically. So if that's the direction they're going to go, I mean, it's inevitable that the Braves, the Marlins, and the Rays are going to be in the same division, and then it just depends on where that expansion team is. But if it's in the Southeast, then that's probably going to be the way it goes. The only other thing you can do is maybe throw the Reds in there. So you could have the two Florida teams, the Braves and the Reds, or the two Florida teams, the Braves and one of the teams from Texas. It would be the only other way that I see you could map it out. Next question from Jamin Legger, who says, we know there's a 99% chance a new skipper is going to be here next year. DeRosa is my pick for what it's worth. But even if it's David Ross or someone else, is there any chance Brian McCann is considered for a coaching position on the new staff? We all believe that there's going to be a coaching change, but still nothing has been announced. The Braves are playing well at this moment. You just wonder if Brian Snitker is going to get that itch again and want to come back. And at that point, do the Braves let him, or do we have a serious conversation where you got to part ways with a guy that's won a World Series, taking you to the postseason so many times, been in your organization for 49 years? That's going to be a tough conversation because it feels like Alex has left it up to Snitker as do you want to come back or not? So we'll see. Again, I would think if it's going to happen, an announcement needs to be made before the season ends. One, so we can just have a send-off for Brian Snitker, and two, just to give the Braves a leg up on finding that next coach. And maybe those discussions have already been had internally. But I still think there will be I still think there will be a managerial change. I'm not as high on DeRosa as others are, and never really have been, just giving the job to somebody that's never been a manager before. I am really high on the David Ross and Skip Schumacher ideas. I think those would be the two leading candidates for me, at least the guys that aren't coaching right now. Is there any chance Brian McCann is considered? I think it all just depends on McCann, and it feels like there's really no desire for McCann to jump into coaching or anything in that realm. Obviously, catchers, they generally make really good coaches. It may depend on who comes in. Like if David Ross comes in and he's got a relationship with Brian McCann, wants to bring him on staff as a bench coach or something, I could see that happening. Certainly wouldn't be as a manager, and I don't think that's what you're talking about. You're just talking about it for a coaching position on the staff. Again, I think it's same thing really with Chipper Jones. I mean, if Chipper Jones wanted to be on the staff, I even think if he wanted to be the hitting coach, the Braves would just hand him the job, but he doesn't want that right now. He's not at a point in his life where that's something he wants, or I don't want to speak for Chipper. I'm sure he would love to do it, but there are more important things that he needs to take care of in his life right now. And I certainly respect him for that. It's just, I don't get the vibe that McCann is really wanting to get back into that, but I don't know. I don't talk to Brian McCann. But I think if he did want to, I'm sure the Braves would find a spot for him. And then Dustin Melton along the same line says, which of these has the potential to be a bigger mistake? Hiring our next manager internally or finding someone outside the organization? I think the chance for the bigger mistake is hiring somebody internally. And look, everything feels good at the moment because the Braves are playing better and it's given us all good vibes again. But as I've said a lot over the past month or so, for them to play as bad as they did for 4 months, and honestly as bad as the offense did for all of last year, which I think we can admit at this point isn't Kevin Seitzer's fault. When you see what he's been able to do with that Mariners offense, something is fundamentally wrong I won't say in the organization, but something is fundamentally wrong with that team and with the offense in particular. And I think things need to just be, sometimes things just get stale. And I kind of said that about Seitzer last year. I said, I don't think this is completely on Kevin Seitzer, but maybe things have just gotten stale and they need a new voice. And, that clearly didn't do the trick, just bringing in a hitting coach. And so the next step is you just got to blow up the entire coaching staff. So I think the bigger potential for a mistake is to just go internal and kind of keep things status quo. I think it's time for shaking some things up. You got a second half of hopefully this run here and a reset year, and then get back on track to getting back to the postseason, competing for championships, which I think this team can still do. But I do think it's time for a little bit of a reset on the coaching side of things to kind of just reset everything and get that focus back, because it feels like they've lost that a little bit. Mike says, what's your favorite ballpark snack? So a couple of fun questions here to end things. Probably just peanuts. I'm not a big snack guy at the ballpark. Generally, I eat before the game, and once I sit down at the ballpark, that's it. I don't get up. I don't go to the restroom. I don't get food. I watch baseball for 9 innings. So if I'm not with my kids, I guess that is the stipulation there. So I don't really have a big ballpark snack, but I do enjoy a bag of peanuts. And then Nate says, how is your day going? My day is going great, because by the time you're listening to this, I'm probably on a beach in the Caribbean somewhere. So my day is going fantastic. Hope you're having a wonderful day as well. Thank you so much for joining me on this episode of Locked On Braves. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube if you're new. Hit that thumbs up button. Leave me a comment down below. Make sure that you rate, review, and subscribe to the Locked On Braves podcast wherever you get your podcast, and we will talk to you next.